So, just a reminder of the guidelines. If you hear the fire alarm, and hopefully you won't, but if you do, please remain seated and we'll let you know if you need to evacuate the building. I'd ask you to turn your mobile phones to silent so as not to disturb anyone in the room. And just also let you know that the event is being broadcast online, just in case you choose to share anything at the end of the session. So, our speaker this evening is Aruna Ladva. Aruna has been a practitioner of Raj Yoga meditation for over 39 years and has become an accomplished spiritual author. Her books have a theme. It's time for relationships, it's time for change, it's time for empowerment, to name just a few. Aruna has helped to establish meditation centres all over the world, including Vancouver, Istanbul, Bahrain and Kuwait, and is now part of the coordinating team here at the Global Retreat Centre. So I'd like to welcome Aruna to the stage.
So you know our greeting of peace, Om Shanti. So Om Shanti to all of you. And welcome. So this is not my creation, Glow with the Flow. I think many of you must be familiar with the term go with the flow. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear myself. It's okay? Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's not my creation, but what is the topic about? Let me just give a brief introduction. So basically, things continue to happen in our life whereby we need to shift gear and get going. And that's not a time to stop and wonder. Stopping is not an option. This is when we need to go with the flow or glow with the flow. So going with the flow is about keep moving, keep trying, keep pushing forward. But it's got a little extra spiritual edge, which is glow while you go. In other words, shine while you do what you do. And so that's the topic we're going to look into and why we should do that, basically. So there's this very famous song by Billy Ocean, that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So that's more or less the idea, the theme for this evening. Now, who has not experienced difficulties? I think difficulties are quite paramount in everybody's life. There are problems and obstacles. I recently had something with my British passport. I mean, just things out of the blue, you know? They said this has to be corrected, and then, you know, it takes forever trying to find the right papers and documents, and just small things that take so much time. Then, of course, you got important things like relationships. You might have just said something in jest, and it hurt them. And then, oh my God, you know, there's so much repair to do. So much communication needed, so much love, so much attention. So I don't think we need to go into that area. I think all of you are quite familiar with the problems we have in life, the problems that we are faced with in the world, nationally as well, internationally as well. So yeah, how to deal with everything that's happening to us. This is the theme today. So the first thing I would say is our need to adapt. And if we don't have this quality to adapt, then it becomes quite difficult to manage, basically, to survive, to stay happy, to be at peace. to continue having that big, generous heart. And so I'll tell you a story that depicts what I'm about to share. So there was once upon a time a naval ship. You can see it's a big naval ship. Try to imagine it. And it's dark, it's raining, they're out at sea, can't see much. And then this naval ship spots another light, which seems to be another vessel. So this naval ship sends a call out, a message out that change your course. And so the other vessel says, you change your course. And so you can see this big vessel thinks that they're high and mighty. And so the captain says, if you don't change your course, this will be the repercussion. So he sends threats. And then there's another message that comes back saying, I am a lighthouse. It's your call. So, who has to move? Can the lighthouse move? No. So how many times in our life does this happen? It's the clash of the egos, actually, where the ego just kicks in and there is a very strong resistance to what's happening. Why are we not able to adapt? Why are we not able to be flexible with what life is throwing at us? And the biggest problem is actually ego and arrogance. And for that, we need adaptation. And adaptation comes when there is a certain sense of self, a self-respect. So let's talk about the ego for a moment. So ego is all about I. What I get, what I want, I'm good, I'm right. Ego is always focused about trying to get its needs met. And the ego doesn't see the whole picture. And the ego is serious. Ego doesn't like predictability. Ego doesn't like spontaneity. Therefore doesn't like flexibility. It's rigid. And that's why we can't go with the flow, because no, it's my way. It has to be like this. But just try and remember situations in your life where you were so stubborn that you got nowhere. What did it feel like? And yet when you were light and easy. So I've given this example before where initially when I started going to India, I was a bit of a difficult person, a difficult traveler, because I found everything a bit dirty and I wouldn't even drink the coconuts. I had to first wash the straw and, did all these kinds of things. And people didn't like traveling with me. They'd say, no, I'm not going with her. And so I was missing out on friends. And then as I grew up, as I matured, as I developed a few skills, powers, then I said, you know what, I'm just going to go with the flow. And I've been to India so many times and I've hardly fell sick. Hardly. And I know I once fell sick and that was only because of dairy. So when that happened, then, I enjoyed life more. We had more fun. We were more relaxed. And I wasn't a difficult person. So it's just a principle with all areas of our life. When I'm being rigid and stubborn and difficult, then that doesn't help anybody. And it doesn't even help the situation. It doesn't help to resolve the situation. It doesn't help the creative juices to kick in. Because in creativity, you need to be right-brained, which means you need a bit of fluid and flexibility. You need to be able to see things from a different perspective. So for that, you need to adjust your vision. So, okay, we say stop the resistance, which is a negative term, but then what do we say instead? We say adapt, adjust, empower yourself, stay in your self-respect. Look at things from, I say, the 3D perspective, which is look at it from up above. It's not about me versus you, it's about us. Then there's not that threat. So what happens then when we do develop self-esteem? What happens is that we become powerful. And when we become powerful, then, as is the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. But I want to change that around actually. With great responsibility comes great power. So when I step into my self-esteem, when I stop being the victim, then I become a powerful person. Because now nothing is bothering me, which means nobody can actually control me. For as long as I'm playing the blame game, I'm making others responsible for what I'm feeling, where I'm at. But when I take responsibility, then I choose. And I'll come to that slide in a minute. But what is power? When we talk about spiritual power, what is power? Power is that ability to do that which you want when you want to do it, and not do that which you want when you don't want to do it. That's in essence power. That's a powerful soul. Nobody can stop you when you want to do it, and nobody can make you do it if you don't want to do it. So when I say great responsibility, it's this responsibility not just for myself, but then I emit that positivity, power, kindness, compassion, mercy out to the world as well. If I'm a powerful soul, it's not enough that I'm the only powerful soul. I need to live in a world where everyone is a powerful soul. So then I need to make others like me. In other words, I need to share the power that I have. And that's the responsibility. So if I'm at peace, I need to share my peace. If I'm full of love, I need to share that love. And so what we do in meditation is we get in touch with our inner compass. Our inner compass is our guide. We often call it the intuition. So in that moment, when you're kind of stifled and you're wondering, okay, what to do, you have to just take a moment and pause and look inside. And so your inner compass is your true essence, your value system, that all-knowing part of you, the all-powerful, loving, kind, creative, abundant part of you. That is guiding you. But what happens is the ego gets in the way, the stubbornness, the rigidity, and even maybe past experiences, which I bring forth. All of that doesn't allow me to hear that inner voice. And if I can't hear the inner voice, then how am I to know what to do? I'm not going to know what to do, right? So actually in meditation, I get to terms with listening to my inner voice. I start to feel what it sounds like, What does it want? What is it calling out for? So let me just ask you a basic question. Do you want to be rigid and stubborn in every situation? Yes? No? No. Seeing no's. Exactly. So then what do I want to be? What's going to be helpful? What's going to take me through this? And it is that ability to ebb and flow and adapt and just adjust. So inner compass is the inner voice. How often do we stop to listen to our inner voice? In fact, you came along tonight because your inner voice is saying, yeah, I want to go to the GRC center and there's beautiful sunshine outside, but you chose to be here. So there's a reason why you came. There's a reason for taking away something from today. So as I said, yeah, you always have a choice. So many people may be to blame for your unhappiness, but no one is ever responsible for your unhappiness except you. This is the point about taking responsibility. So in every situation we have a choice as to how to think. In fact, by the way we think, we create our stress, or lack of it. By thinking too much, by expanding on it, we make the situation bigger than it is. But I can just put a full stop, or I can just use few words to describe that situation, and that's it. So when we say, I always have a choice, I, the soul, the being, has a choice by the way I think. So let's say, for example, somebody put a gun at your head and said, right, you're going to run from here to Oxford right now, non-stop. And if you don't, I'm going to shoot you. Compare that with you decide you're going to get some new trainers, you're going to get fit, healthy, and you're going to make a choice to run from here to Oxford City. What's the difference? Exactly. More appetizing, isn't it? The second one is more pleasing because I'm deciding. When we are told to do something, we resist. But when it comes from inside, then it's more appealing. And so this is the point, that when I choose to go with the flow, I really do empower myself. And so my realization is that I need to understand for myself, why is it important that I go with the flow? I need to understand that for myself. Don't just take it for face value that, oh, I need to go with the flow. No. Find some benefit in it for you. So maybe, yeah, I want to be at peace. I want to stay calm. I want to protect my health. I want to save this relationship. I don't want to create an extra karmic burden. Whatever it is, make that your motivator. And as you do that, you're actually acting more positively than... Chandan, just look at the Zoom. I think something happened. Just look at the Zoom, if there is one. So yeah, when I am acting, I forgot my point now. But anyway, huh? Just adapt, yeah. Adapting. Yeah. Anyway, main point is that I do have a choice and I have a right to exercise that choice, and this relationship between blame and responsibility. Other people may be to blame for where you're at, but only you're responsible for bringing yourself out of that, right? So your husband might leave you, the children may shout slogans at you, but then it's your responsibility. No one can take you out of that pit, only you can help yourself. Responsible also means ability to respond. So again, I need power for that. How can I respond to what life is throwing at me? And so Socrates said, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So many times I've seen students who say, everything's bad, everything's going from bad to worse. And they're just focused or zoomed in on the negative. So for example, no one loves me, nothing works, everybody's strange. You know, we make blanket statements like this, but is it always like that? Which is why we need to get a whole perspective of what's happening. I need to take the full picture. I need to get the full picture. Inquiry, discovery, rather than judgment. And so building the new means new ways of thinking, new perspectives. So God Janus had two heads, one to see the future, one to see the past. Janus, God Janus, that's where January comes from. The ability to see the past, the ability to see the future. So everything that we have done up until now has made us what we are today. We are the result of all of our accumulative choices that we've made today. Many times people see us in these robes and say, oh, well, you must have been born like that. Well, no. Every step of the way we've made choices. So the point here is a bit like, don't just see the glass half empty, but keep filling the glass. Keep building. Because everything that's happened is not bad. It's not wrong. It's just a lesson. So when I look at life like a lesson, then I can build on it. It's like a building block. Oh, I've done that lesson. Now I move on to the next course, the next level. Oh, now I'm getting my PhD. I passed kindergarten. So if that is my view to life, then again, I will have that inner ability, motivation, will to want to adapt. Because then I'll see some learning, some growth happening. So every time I feel I'm benefiting from something, I'm okay, right? I'm pleased, I'm happy. Even though it might seem a loss, but if I know I've gained from that, like I've moved country several times, so a part of me feels, oh, that was nice, I wish I could have that. But then when I start to see what I've gained from where I've arrived, then it's easy to let go of that. So somehow we need to live in the present, we need to live in the future, but more present really. We need to spend least amount of time in the past. Don't let the past influence the present. The present is actually a very pure moment. This moment right now is an absolutely pure moment. If you were to just live in this moment, anything wrong right now? Nothing. It's calm, it's peaceful, we're talking about positive things, you're all good people, nice ambience, cool weather. But then we pollute it with, oh, wonder what's happening at home. I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what she's doing. I wonder I'm going to pay my bill tomorrow. So anyway, point is, try to be more in the moment. Try to take the learning from the moment just gone by, and we empower ourselves. So since, I've shown this slide before, but since it's talking about glow, and I'm really into this slide at the moment. So this is a map of consciousness developed by David Hawkins. And as you can see, he's actually saying that our consciousness has different levels. And so the lowest is shame, guilt, apathy, grief. And the highest is enlightenment. So at least we need to be around here. He's saying at least around 200, which is an energetic measure. And the quality associated with that is courage. And my view to life is that everything's possible. And the process is through empowerment. Ideally, we need to be at 500, which is love. And my emotional state is reverence, revering, respecting everyone and everything around me. So when I'm acting from a higher state of consciousness, then there is a natural glow. In fact, this month, and just particularly on 24th of June, we were celebrating the Remembrance Day of Mama. We call her Mama. So she was the first administrator of the Brahma Kumaris back in 1936. And she passed away in 1965. And she made a lot of headway in terms of the growth of the organization, managing it and training the young girls who had come. And somebody was sharing about her that when she came out of her morning meditation, she would meditate from approximately 2 till 5, and in between she'd have a shower. But when they saw her at 5 a.m., her face was glowing like a moon. And they felt the coolness from her being. And so when we do this, this is actually what's happening. When we exercise the virtues and the powers, then each time we're ascending and we get into a different level of consciousness. And that's what spirituality is about. It's not about staying stuck in the lower levels of consciousness, about grief and, as it says, shame. And we need to come out of that. Then the others are fear. Oops. Then the others are, oh, you can't see my cursor. Fear and desire and anger and pride. No room for that. No room for that, because the first person that damages is me, myself. So I may feel justified in my anger, but the first person it hits is me. A big bout of anger reduces your lifespan by a month. A big bout. So then you can work backwards. So is that what we want to be doing to ourselves? So we want to be glowing. So glowing here means that in every action that I perform, I'm adding a particular virtue to it. So every time you say walk, can you walk gracefully? Can you eat quietly? Can you talk slowly? Can you give generously? Can you be kind? So it's not just the action, but we're adding a virtue to that action. That's why I said it's not just about going with the flow. It's not just about getting through life, but it's about glowing with the flow. And I want to share another story. So there is a book by Oliver Burkeman. Maybe some of you know it, 4,000 Weeks. So anyway, that's really worth reading. It's about time management, but much more than time management. And so he's sharing a story in there about Jennifer Roberts, who is a art history teacher at Harvard University. And so what happens is she takes her students and they have to sit. Firstly, they have to sit for 3 hours watching a piece of art, whether it's a sculpture or a painting, whatever is their field of art. So they sit there, the art is here, and they are forced to just sit there. And okay, if they need a bathroom break, they can have one. And what she's saying, and so he went along and he practiced this. And the reason why she says I had to take this step was because her students face so many extra pressures. And there was so much competition from the other students at Harvard that she had to create this for them to detach from digital technology and the pressures. And she felt that it was insufficient for a teacher like her to merely hand over assignments and wait for results. She said they needed someone to give them permission to spend this kind of time on anything. And so the first thing that happened, so Oliver mentions his experience, relates his experience of what he went through. So he said, first, I first gave up attempting to escape discomfort of time passing slowly. And then with time, the discomfort abates. And then the second thing that happened is, now that I've abandoned my futile efforts to dictate the speed at which the experience moves, the real experience can begin. So we are doing this all the time actually in meditation, where we're sitting with ourselves and there may be other pulls, other distractions, but as you just sit with that experience and just be patient with yourself, just be calm and try not to be pulled by that next thought, then you break through that and you really do get in touch with yourself. You get in touch with yourself and you get in touch with God. And the world is just working the opposite way, where it's asking us to speed up. It's asking us to run the rat race. And actually, it's never enough. We're expected to just run faster and faster. So if we are to get in touch with ourselves, to up our consciousness, to feel empowered, then this is something that we're going to need to do. Which is just take a break. I'm not saying give up altogether. Just take a break, pause, turn within, and uplift your consciousness. Because this is what's going to allow you to really manage what's happening in the world. And it's an energy thing, it's a vibration thing. And when I'm vibrating on that level, then really everything's manageable and possible. So, Don't need to read the small text, I'll explain. So one of the things is, what helps us to glow with the flow is letting go of expectations. So this is part from my blog article that I'd written. And I'm saying that who on occasion has not enjoyed a bit of diva dancing in the shower or singing in the kitchen? That ability to attempt something new for which we really don't have any aptitude, but just the desire and willingness to have a go and express the joy in our heart can in itself bring its own fruit, satisfaction and growth. And so when we let go of trying to be perfect, when we let go of trying to win an Oscar, then we can really glow and go with the flow. When we try to make everything perfect, then we get nowhere near perfection. But when we let go, then we come close to perfection. And I'm sure you've had such experiences, and I'm sure you've seen videos and Instagram posts of people just excelling because nobody was watching them. Right? So when the spirit is free, and I'm light and I'm happy, then actually I can emerge my goodness. So let go of expectations of you, let go of expectations of others. Let go of trying to make your drama perfect. And really, you'll go with the flow, glow with the flow. Okay, just a couple more slides. So all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room all alone. This is a quote. Isn't that so true? That if I could just take time to be with myself. See, we are under this illusion that I have to be doing more to be more empowered. But I actually have to be doing less and I have to be more. So recently we were just talking about silence. Who's afraid of silence? Anyone afraid of silence? So make silence your friend, your ally. We came from silence, we have to return to silence. And if I don't have that relationship with silence, then I'll suffer. I'll be kicking and screaming. So taking time out in silence and solitude, again, is so nurturing, so soothing, so calming, so empowering. And so I leave you with this. What is the smallest change you can make that will make the biggest difference? In terms of this topic, what is the smallest change you can make? What do you need to do to not only go with the flow, but then to shine? So let's think about that, and let's have a little meditation. And then I'm happy to take some questions. So maybe, some music. So just sit comfortably. It's good that I've made this time for myself. As I take this time for myself, I'm building a relationship with myself. A relationship of love, care, kindness. As I begin to understand how my mind works, how my heart flows, why I do what I do. I'm able to make some tweaks and changes. And so right now, as I sit with myself, I just want to experience my inner calm. I want to go deep, deep into the inner recesses of I, the soul, to feel that calm and stability, the center of my core. And that is me. The true I. Free from any alloy of any negativity. I am pure. I am love. I am truth. And this attracts me so much. So just sit with that feeling of inner calm. Visualize that your inside has become like a very serene lake. Nothing is moving. Everything is still. No upheaval of emotion. Just absolute acceptance and a contentment. And maybe if we can have some silence now. And I'd like us to just appreciate the silence for a moment. And in this silence I can hear my intuition. Thank you. So now I'm happy to take a few questions, if any. Anyone has any questions? There's a mic if anyone wants to ask. It's all clear? There's a question at the back.
It's beautiful talk, by the way. Very nice, thank you. But the question came to me, yeah, go with the flow or glow with the flow, beautiful. But when you explain about change or all the time, but the arrow was coming to me like I have to do that all the time. Why me all the time? In relations, or if I'm living with the mob of people, why I can't be lighthouse? Why I have to suppose myself I'm on the boat? Like that's sometimes often question comes, why always me to be take that first chance?
I need
Why
to
me?
change. Because I want to be happy. That's the simple answer. It's really, again, if you see this visual of the ship and the lighthouse, why does the ship have to change course? Because it doesn't want to get hurt. Right? Other situations may not change. The lighthouse cannot move. So I have to move. I have to shift in my mind, in my perspective. And also I always see it as, okay, if I change, I'm flexing my muscles. If I'm asking others to change, then they'll flex theirs. So, yeah, I want to become wiser, stronger. It's about me. That's why I want to change, or I need to change, let's say. And whether others change or not, it really doesn't matter, because that's their story. That's not my story. Yeah. The mic is coming.
Thank you. I just want to evolve from that question, actually, because, yeah, for your happiness, you're the ship, all your passengers on board, your vessel, you're going for that path.
Yeah.
You don't know what's on the other side of that lighthouse when you turn left to avoid the crash, but it's going to be better than the crash, so you go.
Exactly.
Now, you've mentioned a lot about relationships this evening, and the timing is perfect for me personally. What if, like this gentleman just pointed out, you're the vessel and you're the adaptable one that's constantly moving around for the lighthouse who can only stay put? Is there a time on your journey of spiritual growth, I'm going to say, that you need to be with another vessel because the lighthouse is almost always just going to be there when you need to go there? Like, just what's your advice? If, say there's a lighthouse and a lighthouse, I just feel like when you were describing that, it's almost like you want another vessel where you can go off and do your thing, but you're both flowing, in the open water, and you make your own choices for your passengers on board and where you might want to stop along the way, but ultimately you're both capable of flowing. Whereas when one of you's a lighthouse, like that gentleman pointed out, you've always got to be the one that flows because the lighthouse isn't moving. And does that become unhealthy for you then on your growth when you start to adopt those ego ways of, well, I'm going to have to act more, like you just pointed out. Saying, sorry, it's quite personal, but maybe other people benefit from that advice.
So in a sense, you're saying it's just two ships, right? Instead of a ship and a lighthouse, right? Am I hearing you? Yeah. Well, you see, two ships can travel safely together, but again, they have to have this spirituality. This is really my conclusion after several decades of practicing this. It's not just about intimate relationships. Any two relationships don't work if there isn't that ingredient of spirituality. And so what is spirituality? It is about letting go, it is about giving space, it's about accepting, it's about loving, it's about moving on, about seeing the highest in that one. Many concepts of spirituality are needed in order for this relationship to work. So, is that enough? Seems to be enough of an answer. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's why, yeah, I mean, it's ideal if both meditate and not just one, that it doesn't feel like just one is doing all the work for the sake of, the other. Then it becomes difficult too. Yeah. But again, then you bring in other elements like, well, that's karmic, Yes.
Two things come to mind, very quick ones. One is, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi who said most people want other people to change. And the other one is, the book The Road Less Travelled by Scott Peck.
Mm.
He says in there, there's always a greater truth, and it normally comes from context.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seem to apply here.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. The back.
Just carrying on from the same theme about the two ships and, whether to find another ship. And to what extent, though, sometimes, when I change, when I sort of let go of my expectations, that might give the other person space. Like sometimes it's hard to know, do I kind of keep working on myself and that might influence the other person in the relationship, whichever one it is. To what extent do you know that? Just picking up from that lady's question. Because sometimes I've seen people who have been in a difficult relationship, but because they've worked on themselves, that has then influenced in a very positive way the other person. They may not become as spiritual, but I've given them space to be. I've accepted that that's how they are, and I'm okay with that. Because sometimes it's about my own need, and my need is and I want them to change because it makes me feel, whole or something. So maybe to comment on that, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe the important point there is not to expect them to change. In other words, the intention has to be right. As soon as I'm giving with the intention of wanting something back or wanting that change, it's not going to work. And we've seen this, and I've seen this many times in various parts of the world where mothers are doing things for their daughters, and the daughters just know their mums are doing it because they want me to be different or to change, and then when the mother lets go and just allows, then the child changes. So whoever it is, whatever relationship it is, so important not to give them the feeling that I'm doing this so that you change, or I'm fixing you, or I'm putting this right, or the arrogant streak. It's all very subtle, these things. It's arrogance to think that I'm the one that's working in the relationship. So yeah, that's very delicate. Yeah. Anybody else? So, do you have a roadmap? Do you know what you're going to do? Is it worth glowing with the flow? Are you convinced at least that you need to glow with the flow? Yeah. She has one more question. Yeah.
What you've just said then, you started off in the beginning by being very driven. I can't remember the words you used now, but it was, you have a plan, you go for it. You don't just stay sat still. And then
Stopping is not an option.
there we go. That was the word thing you used. And then you've just said then, do you have a roadmap? And I sort of looked at you like, no. But I fed glow with the flow. Yes, I am. And that's okay too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To finally, after years of being a very busy person, I've gone the opposite way. I've taken my foot off the pedal and gone, whoa, I need to stop and just breathe. And I'm finding it's very unfamiliar to me, but if anything, it's more freeing because I'm accepting I'm accepting, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going to glow with the flow. So just to confirm, that's okay, because when you first started, I was like, oh no, I haven't got a plan. You know, I have stopped, I have hit pause. But I think there's a fine line between it, isn't there?
Yes.
In your inner knowing of, I
Yeah.
need to stop.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not stopping and laying on the road, refusing to move.
Yeah.
I'm stopping in the water while it flows over me, ready for it to take me somewhere.
Yeah.
And just go with it.
That's
Yeah,
lovely.
just making sure.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. And I'll just add, of course, these terms that I use are kind of interchangeable. So when I mean stop, I don't mean stop in your tracks. I mean stop here. You know, and then when I say start, it's not necessarily start walking. It's, again, take a decision, move. You know, so one has to kind of, how to say it, like, in the context, as you said, understand, you know, what is being said. So you could stop, but still be moving. Do you see? You can take a pause, but then you're taking leaps. So this is spirituality. Okay, lovely to have you. I think Tracy has one more announcement. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Aruna. That was wonderful. I think for me, the point I really liked is there's no one who has responsibility for my happiness except me. It's down to me. I have the choice. I really like that point. So, some upcoming events. We have a very special event happening in central Oxford at the Westgate Library on Thursday, 27th of June. And that's with John McConnell, and it's called How to Stop Self-Sabotage, Overcoming Internal Barriers in Business. So that's at the Westgate Centre, 6:30 to 7:45 on the 27th. That's this coming Thursday. We have a forest bathing session next Sunday in the grounds of the Global Retreat Centre, so hopefully the weather will still be as lovely as it is now. We have our normal Raj Yoga meditation courses starting at the beginning of July. They'll be in-house and online. And finally, to mention, the next session in this spiritual detox series is titled The Power of Influence, and that's with Mike George, and that's on the 9th of July. So details of all of these events can be found on our website, globalretreatcentre.org. And also just to announce that our bookshop is open now, 8 till 8:30. I believe we have some books that Aruna has written, and if you choose to buy one, I think Aruna's going to be down in reception and she'll sign it for you. So thank you to Aruna once again, and thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.